Hello everybody, welcome to another edition of This Week in MD Fantasy Football. This is for week 12. I'm going to go through some of the weekly stuff here first, but going to try to get through some rundowns on the playoff scenarios and statuses, try to hopefully run through everything. I know I've had some questions on it, so try to get you straightened out here so that we know what's going on. This week, Nick S. had the highest score with 108. Good job there. He gets the $5. His team is red hot too. Nick S. beat Jeremy R. 108.53. Larry was right behind him as he had 107 over Greg with 93. Jeremy G. beat Nick Wagner 99.61 to get the season sweep. Butter beat me 96.87 thanks to 3,000 points or whatever by Breeze. Zach beat Jay 93.76, and Tyler beat Jim 88-73. Going through the standings here for Week 12 in the Green Division, Greg leads at 8-4. Nick S is 6-6. Larry is 3-8-1. Jeremy R is 2-10. In the Gold Division, Zach and Tyler are both 9-3. Zach leads the division because he is 11 points ahead of Tyler. They've split for the season for their games. Jay is 7-5 and Jim is 4-7-1. In the red, Jeremy G is 7-5, Nick Wagner is 6-6, and me and Butter are both 5-7. All right, the top players. Remember, this is for the $5 at the end of the year. Jay has Aaron Rodgers for the best quarterback right now with 295 points. Go Packers. Running back is Chris Johnson with Nick S with 256. He's might be running away with that one. Get it? Running away. Wide receiver, tight end, Butter has Randy Moss with 160. Defense, special teams, Tyler has the Saints with 158. And for a kicker, Jeremy has Akers with 113. Our last week of the regular season is coming up. The matchups are Nick Wagner against me, Butter taking on Jeremy G, Greg versus Nick S, Jay against Tyler, Jim against Zach, and Jeremy R taking on Larry. All right, well, getting to the playoff scenarios and statuses, whatever. Right now there is 4 players or 4 owners that have clinched a playoff spot. Greg has clinched the Green Division. Zach and Tyler, by virtue of their 9 wins, have clinched a playoff spot. And Jeremy G has clinched the red division. Nick Wagner can still tie him at 7-6. But remember, he swept Nick Wagner in both games, so Jeremy's got the tiebreaker. All right, just a couple things here. Remember, this is set up just like the real NFL. So division winners all get the top seeds. So you could still have a better record than a division winner as a wild card, and you'll still be lower seeded because we set it up just like the NFL. So division winners in this case will get our 1, 2, and 3 seeds. The top 2 will get that first round bye, just like in the NFL. The wild cards again will take the the 4th, 5th, and 6th seeds, and it'll reseed after the first round, just like the real NFL too. So the top seeded owner will get the lowest seeded in the second round, and then the other team will play the second ranked team. Okay, so again, Greg is the green champ. He's clinched a playoff spot. He needs a win or a Jeremy G loss to clinch a first round bye. If he loses and Jeremy G wins, Jeremy G beat him by, I think, 2 points. So Jeremy would actually get the first round bye as the second seed in the playoffs. Greg could also get the top seed in the whole playoffs. If he wins and Zach and Tyler both lose, the winner of that division by points would be Zach or Tyler, obviously. If it is Zach, Greg didn't play Zach, so it would go by points. So if Greg had more points than Zach, Greg would be the #1 overall seed. If it was Tyler that wins the division, again, if he, they're both 9-4, and Greg ties him at 9-4. If it was Tyler, Tyler gets the tiebreak over Greg. Tyler would be the #1 overall seed. Greg would be #2. Also, what else? Okay, in that same division, Nick S. needs to win and get a Nick Wagner loss to clinch a spot in the playoffs. If Nick S. loses and ties with, or excuse me, even if he wins and he's tied at 7-6 with Jay and Nick Wagner, the two with the most points would make the playoffs out of that group because they all split with each other. So that would make things interesting there. If Jay lost to go down to 7-6. If Jay wins, he's in. So if he wins this week, he's in the playoffs. So if that would leave Nick Wagner and Nick S. both at 7-6. Nick S. would get the tiebreak because he beat Nick Wagner earlier this year. Try not to fall asleep. I'm trying to get all this covered here. All right, so if for some crazy reason both Nicks lose, because I played Nick Wagner, so I would move up to 6-7. Nick Wagner would be 6-7. Nick S. loses, he'd go to 6-7, and if it was the three of us that all ended up at 6-7, there would be a battle for that last spot between us. But Nick S. has beaten both of us, so he would get the tiebreaker. He would go to the playoffs. If Butter wins and goes to 6-7 with the rest of us, then it would go, since Butter beat Nick S., we've got a tie through wins and whatever, everybody's beating each other, kind of. Then it goes to points, and the one owner with the most points out of those four would then make the playoffs. And Nick S. has a 45-point lead over the rest of us right now, so he's pretty comfortable there, but that is a possibility. What else? I was talking about Zach and Tyler. Zach has an 11-point lead over Tyler right now, so if they both either win this week or lose this week, if Zach keeps that point lead, he'll get the division win, or the division title, and then Tyler would actually be the 4th seed in the playoffs because he's the first wild card. Obviously, if one of them wins, the other one loses, they'll win the division. And again, I went through some of those scenarios as far as top seed or not with Greg and what happens there. So it depends on what happens. As I mentioned, Jay wins and he's in. He loses, he may be out if he doesn't have more points. I kind of went through that. Jeremy G has clinched a playoff spot because he beat Nick Wagner twice, so he can't be beaten in the division. So he can be the #3 seed, or he will be at least the #3 seed. He can get the 2nd seed, as I mentioned, if he wins and Greg loses. He gets the tiebreaker. And then we have Nick Wagner. Again, just if he wins and Nick S. loses, then he makes the playoffs. And I went through that, how they tie, if we all tie at 6-7. I think that about covers it. If there's any other questions, obviously just let me know, but that should about do it. If I missed anything there, I hope I didn't, but again, we're just trying to be fair with everybody, and next week I'll go through the playoff rundown again and how we got there and the seeds and all that. So join us next week for the last week of the regular season review, and this week in MD Fantasy Football. See you, everybody.